Thank you for joining us today on Earthfile. Welcome to the program. I'm Ayola Kasim. Nigeria is one of Africa's urbanized countries with more than 35% of the country's population living in towns and cities where supplies of food and water are frequently inadequate. Increase in the rate of urbanization has been acknowledged to have effect on urban poverty and food security. So it has been advised that a good strategy that urban dwellers can adopt in order to be and remain food secure is the practice of urban agriculture. There are groups trying to boost knowledge about this, but we start with one in a peri-urban area in Lagos. Just stay with us. From backyard plots to community gardens, all the way up to full-time commercial operations supplying farmers markets, restaurants and grocery stores, urban farming serves a vital role in food security. For many people, fresh food is not a given. The Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations sees food security as existing when all people at all times have physical, social, and economic access to sufficient, safe, and nutritious food that meets their dietary needs and food preferences for an active and healthy life. Experts believe this is not a small goal. The latest report on the Food Consumption and Micronutrients Survey rated Nigeria as the country with the second highest malnutrition rate in the world. The food security situation in the country has been critical in recent times, with 17 million people estimated to be critically food insecure in 2022.
The project for us is majorly about capacity building, and our hope is to be able to, one, train people and be able to get a lot of people to come into urban gardening or urban farming in their various homes. This one for us will, one, stop food scarcity as well as help with the climate change mitigation in one way or the other.
Lufasi hopes to be a critical player in getting fresh, affordable food to underserved areas in Greater Lagos. The team is assisting commercial urban agriculture operations, more than 20 of them at the last count.
Okay, so for ordinarily, Lufasi, we had a farm. We had a small farm that we use as a training tool. So when we heard of the Jeff's 6, it was something we really jumped at. And glory to God, Jeff was really helpful. They came, they supported. So for us, we wanted to start with our community, our immediate community, which is the Abijo community. And then we moved into the community. We spoke to them. We've always had this relationship with them. We train them, we teach them different things around the environment. So we told them, okay, this is an opportunity for the community members, and they were happy initially. So we started. Jeff, awarded the project, and then we started. And then we realized people were just interested in collecting money and disappearing. So that was an issue for us initially. Well, we just look for other people around, and then they come in. So mostly they were people in this community, as directed by the leadership of the community, Dibale and his chiefs.
The Global Environment Facilities Small Grant Program provides grants to civil society organizations and community-based organizations to undertake local projects that contribute to the global environment while generating sustainable livelihoods.
Of course, I've always known Lufasi Park to be about nature and promoting environmental management. The owner of Lufasi Park is so passionate about environment I mean, you see him at times almost like going into tears when he sees something that is not supposed to be as far as environment is concerned. So, and so when they came to our office and decided that, okay, they wanted to do something about urban farming, I was really, really interested that, oh, okay, now we are thinking of something else for the people in the city, can also get engaged in environmental issues that will also have positive impact on their lifestyle, livelihood. And so we just like, oh, this is a great thing. So they submitted it, then it was approved, and then that is it.
The Small Grants Program of the Global Environment Facility, implemented by the United Nations Development Program since 1992, is a downstream funding instrument and program supporting community-led initiatives with a focus on sustainability and social environmental impact.
Actually, I start from tire, inside tire. I plant inside tire and inside container, but it's not contain me. That is why I expand it to in front of my house. I plant it on the ground.
For 3 years, this mother of 4 has been working on this plot with support from the FASE.
Nígbà tí mo mọ̀ nípa pé wọ́n lè gbin nǹkan sínú táyà kó grow.
I never knew I could plant inside the tire, but after I went for the training, I was told that it can grow in the tire, a bowl and even a sack of cement. So I tried it and it worked.
So I try it, they work.
Later, where I was using became very small for me. It was my backyard, so I moved here to the front of the house. And since I started planting, people have been patronizing me and have benefited from it. Because of the way things are in the country, one needs to do more. And I started with ugu, pepper, okra, ewedu, green and shoko. I also added cassava and corn. I'd love to expand should I get a bigger plot. The challenge I have sometimes is pest infestation, but I have been taught how to control it. The other problem is having aches after wetting the plants, because I'm the only one doing this. I have no assistance as the children will go to school.
So the other, most of the time, only that day, wet,
On the other side of town is another woman who has been assisted in setting up a place for aquaculture.
They give me the pond. I must have water in order to run the fish. So I have the pump already because I do sell food. So I say since I have the water, I can be one of the beneficiaries because that's some of the requirements it will take before I can get the pond. What are the requirements? I must have water, I must have a space and good space that I can at least put the pond and a place that can run the water in order to change their water on a regular basis.
Approximately 3 billion people were unable to afford a healthy diet in 2019 because of poverty and inequality. Most of these people live in Asia and Africa. Furthermore, 30% of the world population was affected by moderate to severe food insecurity in 2020. And most of this population lives in low and middle income countries. The world is at a critical juncture, and experts are saying there is an urgent need for transformative food systems that ensure the empowerment of poor and vulnerable population groups, often smallholders with limited access to resources or those living in remote locations, as well as the empowerment of women, children and youth.
It is so important because of the level of lack of food and the way the cost of food is going up in this massively dense urban space called Lagos, which is also very, very largely populated. There's an issue with food, and in all fairness, the Lagos state government are making some very pragmatic moves, but we need to do far more. And so our is just to contribute the little that we can to encourage the local communities to start producing their own food. And so far it's looking very, very promising because they are beginning to appreciate it, especially now that the price of food has skyrocketed since before we started the project.
The one that interests me most is the school children with their farms. Whereas the school used to be very dilapidated, dated, you have some miscreants coming to the school to do all manner of things. So by the time the Lufasi introduced these concepts to them that they want to train the children and even the teachers if they are interested in urban farming, they are like, oh, we have the land. It's just that we have never really thought of what we could do with it. And then the former health teacher just like, this is it for me. And she was so much interested. She supported everything. And so that was how we started. And then they trained the children on farming. And you could see the excitement on their faces. Like some of the things they teach them in the class. Now they see it physically. They can handle it physically. They can participate in it physically. It really made a lot of impact on them. And that is the catch for me, really. Because now they don't just even stop in the school. They take it to their houses and encourage their parents to also, even if it is in a pot where you don't even have a place to plant, they can plant anything. You are not really restricted. You can always plant all these small vegetables. And then everybody knows the health benefit of planting your own, eating organic and planting it your own. You are not using chemicals or all that. So these are just some of the things that really gets me excited about the project.
Make sure you do something. Try to plant something.
Today, members of the Farmers Club of the Community Primary School in Abidjan, started by the Lufasi team, are encouraged to have passion for agriculture.
They told us about farming. We plant pepper, ugu, and then when I'm doing the work, I am always happy because of whenever I do it, I always get experience. When I get home, if my mommy buy pepper, I will take the seed and I'll plant it. Anytime that there's no pepper, I will just go to the farm and plug at least how it could make me to use, and I'll use it enough and I'll be very happy. And whenever I'm joining the farmers club and they say anything, it's always make me happy because of anytime we go to the farm, I'm always happy seeing plants grows, and when the plants are very neutralized and they have fertilizers, it makes me very happy to see their green leaves.
It has been said that food insecurity in urban areas is more than a question of food production. It involves infrastructure, distribution, economics, social issues and education. Experts say it's complex. In some places, food is abundant and fresh. In others, you will need to go several kilometers to find food. Though a backyard garden or a community garden plot will not provide enough food for a whole family throughout the year, but it has been said that it is both empowering and enlightening for people to grow their own food.
We intend to do more of this, and also even within the various catchment groups to encourage them to start training more people to do it. We've developed like a community sort of center, which was actually instigated by Jeff. So the idea is to bring them more closer to us at that community center. And then also to use it as a forum to promote creation care, to promote, looking after the environment itself. Because one of the major drives of the various food shortages that we're seeing is because of the negative impact that we are having on the environment. So it's a great win-win-win situation, encouraging the people to grow their own food, encouraging them to look after nature, which will help the availability of food to become more ready. And also, it's a great way of encouraging them to bond closer to themselves. There's nothing that bonds people closer than when you're working together with nature in various farming pursuits.
The inability of Nigerian agriculture to provide adequate food in quantity and quality to feed the ever-growing population has resulted into food shortages, undernourishment, malnutrition, starvation, hunger, and ill health. Many commercial urban farms operate in a way totally alien to traditional agriculture setups. One example of a prolific farm is a soilless farm lab in Abeokuta, the Ogun State capital.
What this is doing is, number one, with this our method of farming, we are able to produce all year round. And one of the major fallouts of climate change is the fact that there is unpredictability when it comes to planting and harvest seasons. But with this, we are able to grow all year round. Now, it's important to also add that hydroponics or soilless farming is not there to solve. Rather, it is there to adapt. One. Number two, soilless farming is not contributing to increasing the impact of climate change. So we are not making it worse, but we are able to adapt to the reality of what is on ground. That is our role as it relates to climate change. So now, this is important because when you look at agriculture traditionally, this is one of the major, is one of the highest, what's the word now? Contributing factor when it comes to climate change. But with soilless farming, you are not contributing. It actually has almost zero carbon footprint compared to traditional farming methods. So, for example, they'll say, okay, for you to do things that does not affect climate, no tilling, we are not tilling the soil. We are not doing runoff from chemicals. So then all of these cocoa peat, rice hull that we are using naturally would have been a waste somewhere, contributing more to climate change. But right now, we are using them on the farm, so we are turning waste to wealth. So if anything, we are mitigating against factors that would have even made climate change worse.
Due to population growth, urbanization, and climate change, competition for water resources is expected to increase, with a particular impact on agriculture. However, future demand on water by all sectors will require as much as 25 to 40% of water to be reallocated from lower to higher productivity and employment activities, particularly in water-stressed regions. In most cases, such reallocation is expected to come from agriculture due to its high share of water use. Currently, agriculture accounts on average for 70% of all freshwater withdrawals globally. The World Bank says hydroponic farming has strong potential to mitigate the threats these issues pose to our agricultural system. Plants grown in well-managed hydroponic systems are living the good life. Since roots are bathed in all the nutrients they need, plants spend more time growing upward and less time and energy growing extensive root systems to search for food. Growth rates vary based on the type of system and quality of care. But hydroplants can mature up to 25% more quickly than the same plants grown in soil with increased crop yield. And it is believed that hydroponic farming has the potential to provide fresh, local food for areas with extreme droughts and low soil quality, such as in sub-Saharan Africa, where access to leafy green vegetables is often limited. Samson, who is daily living this reality, agrees.
When I realized there were too many things wrong with the soil, like it's not just about one thing, it was about a lot of things. So how much rainfall, how much sun, the changing climate, all of that has a role to play in the soil texture, porosity, the kind of diseases that are embedded, the new ones that would come in as the climate change, the disease change, and all of that. These were a lot. Again, I did not have an agric background. What was the quickest way out? Is there a way for me to do this without having to depend on the soil? Is there a way for me to do this by having a bit of control over the biotic and abiotic factors? Luckily, back then in IITA, in the project I was, we were practicing something called aeroponics. That was when it was just starting, to grow yam without soil. And fortunately, I was one of the persons in charge. So after my youth service, I became a research supervisor for the project. So I learned and understood, okay, this is how aeroponics work. Okay, can I try this out on other crops? Which we did. I think back then in IITA, I had successfully worked on over 20, 30 crops alone. Of course, using my personal funds, which were like salaries I was being paid. And with that, I realized, okay, this thing works. But to make this thing sustainable, the cost for setup has to be cheap. And the only way it can be cheap is by reducing the things we need to import. So how much do I know about my environment? So we use the techniques called ABCD, asset-based community development. Okay, when I go into communities, what are the things we have in this environment that we can take advantage of? So gradually, that's how we got here, by now doing hydroponics in our own way. So if you look at hydroponics in Europe, it is something that is electricity dependent. But today we have systems on the farm where we do not use electricity for anything. We only use electricity to pump water from our reservoir to our storage tank. After that, no electricity needed on the farm. And with that, we are able to crack a lot when it comes to the cost of setup and your running costs.
Samson knows his method as of now may not grow all crops, but he says it will help many get their necessary dietary requirements.
We are not using hydroponics as a way to replace soy. We want to complement the soy-based farmers. If you look traditionally across Africa, one of the major culprits of civilization is agriculture. Anywhere civilization gets to, agriculture is pushed out. So this allows us to have beautiful farms that can work in mega cities, which is what we are trying to do. Now, in taking these farms to the mega cities, we are also able to grow things like our veggies closer to those who need it, so that those in soil can focus on plants that will take longer time and not worry about these short-term plants.
In a backyard in Zimbabwe's capital, Harare, a 50-year-old mother of two is using hydroponics to grow vegetables for some of Harare's top restaurants, defying drought and an economic crisis that have left millions needing food aid. Benenjia Mukarati, whose day job is accountancy, always had a passion for farming, but no land on which to plant. Just over 2 years ago, she did a web search on how to grow vegetables on the deck of her Harare house, importing a small hydroponic system from Cape Town for $900 that enables plants to grow soluble nutrients from water. She now works in a 46-square-meter greenhouse where water flows in a maze of pipes decked with plants.
Hydroponics farming saves water, and I really enjoy it because I don't have to worry about the water. I don't have water here, so I have to buy water, but because it's hydroponics, I'm saving water by 90%. The other reason why I opted for hydroponics farming is the growth rate of hydroponics. It's faster, and then I can harvest even much faster than the soil-based farming.
Her immediate desire was for fresh vegetables for the family as the country's economic fortunes deteriorated and grocery store prices spiraled. But she quickly realized her pastime could be a profitable venture. She now makes $1,100 a month in a country where some government workers get just $76. In hydroponics farming, water is conserved because it is reused multiple times. Hydroponically grown plants also require no pesticides because there are no soil-borne diseases.
If I was farming in a conventional way of soil, I wasn't going to produce as much as I'm producing, because when we are farming in soil, you need more water, and then the production rate will be less than what is happening in hydroponics farming. When you are doing hydroponics farming, your crop grows faster by a third, which means about 33%, and you tend to harvest it in a shorter period than when you are doing conventional farming, when you are farming in the soil. So hydroponics farming helps so much, especially when there is no water or when there is no rain, because it saves water, less time of production, and you can produce as much as you want, even on a space which is limited, like in this farm.
That's our show for the week. Thank you for watching our inbox Earthfile at channelstv.com. It's available for all your comments and questions from all of us here in Lagos. It's bye for now.